Welcome. Welcome to The Scoop with Barb. We are talking politics. And let me just say, I know that I don't know shit about fuck, okay? Uh, I am not an expert on this. I'm an expert on rescuing dogs. That's about the only thing I know anything about that I can sit and talk about forever. But I'm not going to sit back and be silent in the face of what is happening. And I just want to be here for you other people, for y'all to, hey, Betty Boop, I just want to be here. I want to be a voice. I have to have my voice. If two people hear it or one person hears it, I just want y'all to know that we're in serious times and we have to do something. We have to do something. And I don't know what that something is. If it's just us pulling together and rallying together and being here for each other, or if it's, going out in the streets. Most of us aren't able to do that. But today we're going to start with one of my favorite YouTubers, political YouTubers, is Luke Beasley. He's a younger guy, pretty young guy, intelligent. He's broken. He knows what's going on. He covers things with respect. It's hard sometimes to be respectful of other people in these times. We've only just begun. Trump has been in office less than 30 days, like 20 something days. He is, okay, so he raised tariffs yesterday, 25% to Canada, except for the fuel, which is at 10%. And then he raised the same in Mexico, 25%, and 10% in China. And we've got Elon Musk basically running our country. Elon Musk is not even a Native American, not even a U.S. I guess he's a citizen now. I don't even know. But I want to start off with Luke Beasley because he did this video the other day. He does a lot of videos. And he talks about how this is Riley Gaines. I've talked about Riley Gaines before. This is she and her husband. Her husband is maybe going to be deported. He's not an American citizen. He's waiting on citizenship apparently for not getting a COVID vaccine. So, you can blame that on Biden. I think he's been trying for 3 years to get to become a citizen. Excuse me. But anyway, so that's her husband. He's from Europe. He's trying to become a citizen. And Riley Gaines, this Riley Gaines over here, this is Luke Beasley. It's his channel, The Luke Beasley Show, fabulous creator. Riley Gaines over here is a former swimmer. She is anti-trans to the max. Now, I know the trans issue is a huge divisive subject, very divisive. Trump has already rolled back any protections for anybody who does medical care for trans people. His policies are anti-trans, and that's okay. That's everybody's right to be against who they're against. But Riley is she's a Trump supporter, and now she's found herself in a precarious position. And let's just listen to this because I think it's very informative. And where is my start? There it is. All right, let me know if you cannot hear.
We continue to follow the stories of Trump supporters who vote for Trump, get what they voted for, then express confusion at what they got. Okay. The latest example is Riley Gaines. You've probably heard that name before. She's a big, particularly on the trans issues, MAGA figure. And she's appeared on stage with Trump. She's just all out there, right? Very prominent. And she was impacted now. and hear her story. Then we're going to talk about, she tries to make this, no, I'm not necessarily saying, I'm not saying it's Trump's fault. But this is her husband potentially being deported, the husband who had legal status but is losing it. And then we'll look at another story similar of sort of a deportation impacting someone who voted for Trump. But hear her story, because some of her confusion around, wait, but I thought he had legal status, is what we've mentioned to people about when you proceed with the policies of the Trump administration, you end up impacting a lot of folks you didn't even expect you're going to impact. While you watch, please do click the subscribe.
And that's what I've been saying, is that people think that they voted for Trump, so, yay, so what? He's doing this to them and these and those. It's all of us, y'all. We're all being affected. Everyone's being affected. And I'm going to show you some more things after this that show you some things that have been going on and what other people are saying. We're all in the same, we're all under the same government. And so Trump fired all the FBI agents who investigated him. Where is that? He already got pardoned. He already was convicted of a bunch of felonies, and the judge gave him no consequences because he was about to be president. So while he is a convicted felon, he didn't have to suffer any of the consequences because, hey, he's a president. And that's not how our form of government was determined.
Button.
Just got another letter from Immigration Services. I've made a video about this before, but I'm a U.S. citizen, born and raised in Tennessee, went to college at University of Kentucky, met my husband there. He's an immigrant. He moved over to the U.S. for college on an athletic scholarship from England. We've been married almost 3 years now. We're coming up on 3 years. So you would think he is well on his way to achieving his citizenship, or at least having his green card, right? No, wrong. And why can't he get his green card? Because his medical records aren't complete. And what is missing from his medical record? The COVID vaccine. Like, it is the year 2025, and we are still requiring the COVID vaccine. You can see it right here. It's backwards. Disregard. Complete the COVID-19.
I get people don't like the COVID vaccine. I get it. However, you're coming into our country and they're saying, well, you can't even get birthright citizenship anymore. That's been done away with. Birthright citizenship. But the United States can ask you to do cartwheels or backflips or whatever if they wanted to. But you're not exempt because you're a Trump fan, or your husband's not brown. I mean, come on.
19 vaccine. But this is what they do. This is what they do to people who do it the right way. I can't even tell you how much money, thousands of dollars, we have spent on the different forms and applications and immigration lawyers and all of the different things, all for everything to expire on their time anyways. And for all you people who say, oh, Riley, your husband's here illegally, he should be deported. Just so you don't understand immigration, he is very much here legally. There are other ways to obtain residency than a green card, like visas or advanced parole. Or those of you who say, this is what you get when you voted for Donald Trump. Obviously, my husband can't vote, but if he could, he would have voted for Donald Trump. Change is coming with the current administration, but he has to undo everything that the former administration has done to our immigration system, both legally and illegally. Oh, and when they campaigned on the tagline, my body, my choice, this is proof they never really meant that.
Yeah, we've addressed that bizarre connection to vaccinations before, when no one's being forced. It's if you want, as an immigrant, to live in the country, right, there may be vaccination.
Nobody held him down and made him do that. But the thing is, that's part of the rules. That means that everybody that it doesn't mean he was singled out, or you're singled out if you came across the Mexican border, and you're singled out because you came across the Canadian border. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. It doesn't matter if you're in a red state or a blue state. Oh, and by the way, Canada's coming back with tariffs, and they're going to supposedly go harder at the red states, states that are governed by Republicans. Great, I'm in a red state. Let's just heap everything on the poor people, right? I think there's a lot more of us poor people than there are these rich, of course, the 1% or even the top 10%. There's a majority of people who are not wealthy, who live paycheck to paycheck, whether that's Social Security or some other form, your work. Maybe you're working and you're making enough. Like, I never made enough to have a big savings account. I had a 401k that I had to cash out. So, I mean, times were tough. I had student loans that I had to pay. You know how much, I mean, student loans are like really high payment amounts. It's crazy.
Requirements for the sake of public health. Also, she has a long record of being dishonest, so I have no idea if that's the actual hang up, but if it is, then my statement stands. But what's interesting is she has this attitude of, see, this is what the Biden administration does. No, Riley, we have long wanted to streamline and make more effective our legal immigration system. It is actually your ideology and your cheerleading for Trump and MAGA and the right-wing approach to immigration, the current right wing, it used to be different, that seeks to put as many roadblocks up as possible, as many obstacles. And what we're already seeing, her particular example aside, is that yes, Trump is going after people with legal status as well. I told you, when you start dehumanizing and demonizing the way that Trump has, it's going to cross over and not see any distinction between undocumented and lawful immigrants. And that's what's happening. CBS reports the Trump administration's swift crackdown on immigration has moved beyond those living in or entering the United States illegally, with officials also issuing bans and restrictions on legal immigration, including programs for refugees displaced by violence. And before getting into another video of a Trump voter, let me just get into the specifics on this. With less fanfare, Mr. Trump's actions have closed pathways for vetting and legally admitting hundreds of thousands of people fleeing war-torn Ukraine, Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, and other troubled parts of the world, including crisis-stricken Haiti and Venezuela.
And these bans, the refugees we're supposed to bring in refugees from these war-torn areas. That's been in our policies for as long as I know. I mean, forever. And now they're trying to say everybody who came over, and it's all over, supposedly over fentanyl. Now, we know that fentanyl is a huge problem, and a lot of it comes across the border in Mexico, and we need that to stop. We also need it not to be sold on our streets. Some of that could be handled domestically, right? I'm not saying the border needs to be wide open at all. Not saying that. I'm saying that we've got to have humanity. This is my thing always, is like, oh, woohoo, yay. I mean, a former friend of mine was, on Facebook laughing and giggling because a Hispanic woman was crying, was upset over some of the things that are happening. And I was just like, that's not being a Christian, to laugh and poke at somebody who's upset about real life stuff. This stuff is real life. When you cut off Medicaid, even for that day that, he pulled back all that stuff, the Medicaid site went down. Medicaid feeds, here, let me just show you what Medicaid does. Because, I looked it up a minute ago, but hold on a minute. You take Medicaid away from everybody who's on Medicaid, and you think, oh, I don't care. They're the poor people. Well, Hold on a minute. Here we go. Okay, so Medicaid covers doctor visits, prescription drugs, hospital stays, and preventative care. Preventative care, hello. It also covers medical supplies, emergency care, and nursing services. My father happens to be in assisted living. It's over $4,000 a month. He had to get on Medicaid in order to survive. Either that, or you have to have, if you're in that condition, you have to have somebody who can care for you. Well, he doesn't have anybody who can care for him. He divorced my mother, 10 years ago or so, after they'd been married for 50 years. And now he doesn't have anybody. But the thing about it is, he had fairly good amount of money. I wasn't raised poor. We weren't rich, but we were probably considered middle class. But it covers doctor visits, prescription drugs, hospital stays, preventative care, emergency care, medical supplies, nursing services, surgery. Who gets Medicaid? Low-income families, qualified pregnant women, individuals receiving supplemental security income, SSI, people who are blind, disabled, or age 65 and older, people who are under age 19, people who are in foster care, people who are living in a nursing home. You want to just do away with all that. The foster care people were going crazy the other day because they took down, the site went down the same day he's saying he's not taking it away. It's just a lot, y'all. And if you're not feeling it, you'll feel it soon. I hope you feel some of this.
This is a lawful mechanism of immigration that we're discussing here. Then the article goes on. Refugee admissions suspended. Hours after taking office, Mr. Trump indefinitely paused the U.S. refugee admissions program, instructing officials to ban the entry of all refugees, a special legal classification for people vetted overseas who prove they are fleeing persecution based on their political beliefs, religion, or other factors. This is people doing it correct, as Riley Gaines would put it. And it's not the Biden administration, that's bye-bye, making it more difficult. It is a part of the ideology you've supported, saying folks are poisoning the blood. Oh no, well, he only meant that when it comes to, that distinction goes away very quickly when you start the dehumanization. Because how does the fundamental humanity of somebody change with legal status? So if you say, not just my stance, which is we should have a secure border, we should enforce immigration laws, we should have a better process, we should have lawful immigration. But for you to say, no, not just that, we also want to say that you're not a human if you're doing it illegally. Well, then that line doesn't make any sense. No members of the MAGA base, as we saw with the H-1B visa outcry, is going to understand the difference, because now it's about the humanity, not the process, not the laws, the humanity. That's what you've supported, Riley. So now, maybe yours is a carryover with the Biden administration, whatever, but people in your situation with their loved ones who even have legal status, who've done it the correct way, who've applied in their country, who are being persecuted, whatever the story might be. Trump's saying no, because those folks poison the blood. Isn't that what I said? NPR reporting the Trump administration is revoking a Biden-era extension for temporary protective status, or TPS, for Venezuelans, a move that removes the work authorization. So work authorization, I don't know if she said that her husband was work or maybe school or athletics, the work authorization for hundreds of thousands of immigrants, and makes them eligible for deportation. And this is what Trump indicated he was going to do. And so many people thought, no, but it's not going to be me. Because surely the dehumanization doesn't carry over to me.
Right. Not me.
And here's an example of a man whose wife has been deported.
They turned off the cameras, excuse my language, and then they took my wife.
This man, who wished not to be identified, says his wife is from Venezuela and has lived in the United States for a few years. She was one of 3 people taken from this home. I'm told the 2 others were men who worked in construction. You see them here. This video, only 1 minute and 52 seconds long, we do not see his wife being removed from the home. But this is a picture of her that he keeps in his wallet. Her name is Vianis Ramirez, and he says she was in the process of becoming a United States citizen.
She already had a court date. She was good. Everything's good. He just came and they snatched her.
These are pictures from the Department of Homeland Security detaining other undocumented men and women in Broward County.
It's despicable what they're doing right now. It's very embarrassing.
President Donald Trump arrived at his Trump National Golf Resort in Doral Saturday, set to host GOP leaders for a conference. This man hopes this message makes it to him.
I get a chance to talk to you, man. Yo, please, man, let's work something out. So you, man, let me keep my wife here in the United States, man. She deserves to be here, man.
ICE reports nearly 1,000 raids in the country on Sunday alone, which is up from just under 300 on Saturday. Here at the detention center in Miramar, things have been quiet for several hours, but we will continue to monitor this situation and bring you the developing news on raids in South Florida as they happen.
Right. And so then going back to the first video that we watched, this is the argument we've been making, which often, I should say, causes the hang up, which is that whenever we get into immigration negotiations, even though that one time the border security thing was really what Republicans wanted, they still slapped it down because they didn't want Biden to get a win. But on other, like when Biden initially came into office and had his immigration reform package that was slapped down by Republicans, the thing that happens is we say, yeah, let's do enhancements to our border. Let's invest more in sort of what you would call enforcement. Fine. We do want a logistically sound and secure border, but we need to pair that with a comprehensive approach as it pertains to some of the more systemic problems with the system and the processing of folks with legal status and making more efficient. Because I've also had people in my life who are going through this, doing it the quote unquote right way. And it is a nightmare. An absolute nightmare. And so that's a part of the problem too. And if we all believed in the benefits of lawful immigration, we could come together to have both, to have solid enforcement, to have a secure and logistically sound border, and to promote a lot of lawful immigration that is a much more effective process where cases can be heard more effectively, and we then celebrate the contributions and benefits of such a process. But whenever the Republican Party gets to a place of, and recently on a bonus show, I told you what I thought the flaws in the Democratic message and approach to immigration have been. So there are issues, but the Republican Party is the one going so extreme such that we can't ever do anything other than one sliver of the problem. We can't address anything but this one little obsession of theirs. And we need a more comprehensive approach. We need those pathways to citizenship and pathways to legal status and a recognition of the importance of the secure process and the humanity at play here. And there seems to be a detachment now for a lot of folks. And it's stunning to see folks who themselves voted for it going, whoa, oh my gosh, what's happening? No, not me.
Not me.
I didn't mean me. Well, Trump did. And it's heartbreaking. I'm not rooting it on, but this is, even with the legal status, the thing Trump indicated he was going to do. You now have people who are being persecuted, people whose lives are at risk, who have applied the lawful way and are being told, no, never mind. I know you thought you were accepted. You're not. Stay. It's tragic.
It's tragic. And what's tragic is that...
Share your thoughts in the comments if you want to support this.
Is that we're still living in the us versus them mentality.
They want to hoard
No matter which side you're on,
opportunity
it's not
and
us
legalize
versus them
discrimination.
when a policy affects everyone. So if you voted for Trump because you wanted your food prices to go down, and then he imposes 25% tariffs on these other countries, that costs you money, because who's going to pay for that? The buyer. You're going to pay for those tariffs. And he says, well, it's just a temporary, whatever. Well, it affects all of us. And it's going to hurt the poor people more than the rich people. But as a consumer, your egg prices are going sky high. And a lot of the egg prices are kind of different, because the egg prices are based upon, this bird flu that's they have to kill all these birds. They have to kill all the chickens. And so the egg prices have gone, that's why the egg prices are so high. But they are a sign of what's to come. It's fact. And we're using that as an example because eggs used to be like really inexpensive. And now we're all paying extra for them. Add 25 cents to every, I don't know, do you buy groceries weekly? I do. I do not like to go to the grocery store. I go to the store once a week. I have a list. I do buy things that aren't on the list, but I don't buy a lot of stuff. My groceries have increased, of course, like everybody else's. Let's just add 25%. So if you go and let's just say you spend $100 at the grocery store, it's going to cost you $125. Let's do, because 100, I don't even get mine for 100 anymore. And that includes feeding my dogs. And that also includes, toilet paper and all the stuff that I get. I pretty much get there at one store. I shop at a Walmart neighborhood market. Let's say you spend $400 a week. Then it's going to cost you $500 a week now. Do you have an extra $100? Does your family have an extra $100? Well, I know, and not all of our food products come from Canada and Mexico. Of course, not all of our imports come from China, but we import a lot. And just, what if you're a manufacturer and you've hired, hay toxicity, and you've lost a lot of your workforce because, well, they're either, they're being deported. It's like the story we just watched. That woman got deported. She was here legally. Her husband's like, I want my wife back. You don't know what's going to happen. It's going to affect us all. The sooner we all realize that, the better off we're going to be. Let's listen to this.
Opportunity and legalize discrimination. We have spent 248 years as a nation undoing our original sins, which include slavery, silencing women, denying Native Americans their citizenship, a whole host of challenges. But what we've done since then, we've passed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, which, by the way, you can't rescind with an executive order. We passed the 19th Amendment, but we also passed Title I, which focuses on poor children having access to education. So if you are a vice president who graduated from high school in the Appalachian Mountains and you went to a Title I funded school, you are a DEI graduate. We know that across this country, service-disabled veterans who have access to resources do so because of the Americans with Disabilities Act, a DEI law. So let's be clear. They may try to make this a racial issue, but they're coming for everyone that they don't believe is worthy of their very narrow-minded ideal of what it means to be an American. DEI is foundational values: diversity, meaning all people; equity, meaning fair access to opportunity; and inclusion, having a pathway to the American dream. They are trying to block it, and they're hoping we don't notice.
DEI is basically if you're not a white male, you're a DEI hire. So, I mean, they're coming for all of us, unless you're, Elon Musk wealthy. Listen to this little bit of news. The Department of Defense announced Friday night that it will institute a new annual media rotation program for its in-house press corps, effectively removing several major news outlets, including NBC News, from their Pentagon office spaces in favor of other outlets. We depend on the freedom of speech that our government, was founded on. And freedom of speech means we can talk about the government. It doesn't mean I can call toxicity of social media, my friend over here. It doesn't mean I can call her names and not get away with it. I can say whatever I want to. But she can also come back and beat me up. But the government gave us the freedom of speech so that we can talk about our government, things we disagree about. That's what it is. And having media there at the Pentagon, why? I think they changed it at the White House as well. In addition to NBC News, the New York Times, National Public Radio, and Politico must vacate their dedicated workspaces. These news organizations found out in a memo sent to the press corps without being individually notified, with an accompanying email that said, no additional information will be provided at this time. For over a half a century, that's more than 50 years, the Pentagon press corps has benefited from working out of individual office spaces that provide coveted and open access to some of the department's top military and civilian leaders. In order to broaden access to the limited space of the correspondence corridor, the outlets that have not previously enjoyed the privilege and journalistic value of working from physical office space in the Pentagon, beginning February 14, a new annual media rotation program for those dedicated media spaces. So, what media spaces are going to go in there? So, what if they only put in, like, say, everybody knows Fox News is very conservative. What if they, yeah, damn right you'll hit me, right? Fox News, what if they only allowed Fox News to, what if you could only get your news? What if you were in Russia, and you could only get state news? Well, we need news sources that you can choose to believe or not, but you need various news sources. You need to get your news from various places. So supposedly the move by Pentagon officials comes 7 days after the Senate confirmed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth by the narrowest of margins, I think by like a tiebreaker vote. It followed weeks of coverage about his behavior and treatment of women, including allegations that his alcohol consumption alarmed colleagues and his second wife feared for her safety around him. Hegseth has denied the allegations. Well, NBC News reported on these allegations against Hegseth. So now they got their, little office space they had there taken away. The memo identified the rotating organizations by medium, selecting one each from TV, print, radio, and online news to swap in and out. It said the news organizations rotating out had 2 weeks to vacate their spaces. The new outlets rotating in are One American News Network, which will take NBC News' spot, the New York Post, Breitbart News, and HuffPost. 3 of the new outlets are conservative, while HuffPost leans progressive. HuffPost does not have a Pentagon correspondent, and the site did not request a space. Wow. If the Trump administration and Secretary Hegseth are interested in more hard-hitting coverage of their stewardship of the Defense Department from HuffPost, we are ready to deliver. The One American News spokesperson said in a statement that the news outlet has operated a bureau in Washington since 2013, and they're looking forward to being in the Pentagon. A rotation program. It is unclear whether NBC News will have the technical capability to broadcast from the Pentagon once it clears and its equipment clears out. It's like you have to have these passes to have access to people, to ask the questions that the American public deserves to hear. This is supposed to be a democracy, and that's what I feared from Trump, because they said, Project 2025, he said, "Oh, I'm not part of that." And everything he's done so far is part of Project 2025. At her first press briefing this week, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that President Donald Trump's administration was opening up the briefing room to new media voices. The first people she called on were Mike Allen of Axios, a longtime political journalist at a site considered mainstream, and Matt Boyle of Breitbart, a conservative site. Oh, and Leavitt also said her team was working diligently to restore the press passes of the 440 journalists whose passes were wrongly revoked by the previous administration. I didn't know there were 440 people who lost their press passes, but the president doesn't have the authority to do some of the things he's done. That when he shut down the federal funding for all of these programs that we've discussed at length here, a federal judge, a judge stepped in and halted, temporarily halted that. And then Trump came out and he was like, we rescind it. But he is coming after Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, legal immigrants, illegal immigrants. It's not, the administration doesn't appear to have any empathy that we are human beings and we deserve these rights that we were born into, right? And he can take some of this stuff away. He can impose all these tariffs. Canada said they would just stop they had said before that they would just stop sending us fuel. Let me find, because I had let me see, because Trump puts tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, and they've responded. On Saturday, he signed stiff tariffs on imports from Mexico, Canada, and China, drawing swift retaliation and an undeniable sense of betrayal from the country's North American neighbors as the trade war erupted among longtime allies. He posted that on social media that the tariffs were necessary to protect Americans, pressing the three nations to do more to curb the manufacture and export of illicit fentanyl, and for Canada and Mexico to reduce illegal immigration into the U.S. The tariffs, if sustained, could cause inflation to significantly worsen. 25%, y'all, that's a lot of money. That's a big percent. 4 times, that's, whatever, like I just said, if you're spending $400 a week at the grocery store, it would now be $500. That's a lot of money. To us, not to Trump. The tariffs, if sustained, could cause inflation to significantly worsen, threatening the trust that many voters placed in Trump to lower prices of groceries, gasoline, housing, autos, and other goods as promised. They also risk throwing the global economy and Trump's political mandate into turmoil just 2 weeks into his second term. Trump declared an economic emergency in order to place duties of 10% on all imports from China and 25% on imports from Mexico and Canada. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said the actions taken today by the White House split us apart instead of bringing us together. We were always there standing with you, grieving with you, the American people. Mexican's president said we categorically reject the White House's slander that the Mexican government has alliances with criminal organizations, as well as any intention of meddling in our territory. If the United States government and its agencies wanted to address the serious fentanyl consumption in their country, they could fight the sale of drugs on the streets of major cities, which they don't do, and the laundering of money that this illegal activity generates and has done so much harm to the population. Let's show you what. Let me just show you what fentanyl does. You've seen it. You've seen it. Let's see. This is people using fentanyl. Stop digging, Bodie. How's everybody's Sunday going? Everybody having a good Sunday? All two of y'all in here. I appreciate y'all being here. Let's see. Fentanyl user. I think it's like in Philly.
It's a normal afternoon on the doorstep.
Fentanyl. Now, let me just say this. What's the solution to this? I mean, how do we stop it in the United States? Well, let's think about this. The people using fentanyl, you saw them there. Oops. Ugh. I think if I show that, damn it. Okay, the people that are using fentanyl, they're laying there. They're not able to work. They don't even want food. They don't care. But here's the deal: how far are they able to go to get this fentanyl fix? Can our government, can our police forces not go in there? And I don't understand. These people. It's not like they're driving their car all over town, and there's some safe place to go by. It's got to be nearby. And can we stop it there? That's what Mexico's saying. You're about to go to lunch with your hubby. Toxicity. Well, I just took the dogs for a walk, and then right now this is what I'm doing. Hey, why does that look like that? Camera. Anyway, guys, I just want people to realize that what's happening, it's not them. It's not happening to them. It's happening to us. And we have to stand together and be prepared. I don't know how to tell you how to do that. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to figure out how to stay calm yet educated on what's going on around me, because it just feels like the next shoe's about to drop. And we've had those airplanes crashing. Now, I don't know if that's just coincidental or if it's going to, hit us. What's going to happen? I don't know. But I'm tired of hearing the scary stories. And it just started. Oh, so that pilot of that helicopter was a woman? Does anybody believe that women are less of a being than men? That women don't make the same pay for the same job, and women are part of DEI, and so you're going to take a lot of people out of the workforce from jobs that a lot of people don't want. And yeah, somebody will work them, but if you take away people's Medicaid, if you take away our Medicaid, what is going to happen to all these elderly people in nursing homes? Like I just read off what it covers my own father. That kind of treatment is very expensive, and where are they going to go? Because you can't take in your family if you're not making enough to live on. You can't take in a sick person, a person who's in congestive heart failure. My dad's in congestive heart failure. He needs care. He's in a wheelchair now, right? He's on Medicaid. You might have relatives on Medicaid. You may be on Medicaid. Our foster children are on Medicaid. Children that have no other, it's not their fault. It may be my fault that I'm not wealthier. I'm not on Medicaid, but I'm just saying it may be my fault that I'm not wealthier because maybe I don't know, I got a degree, but I had student loans to pay back. But it's not a child's fault that they're in a situation where their parents did something that caused them to lose custody or have temporary foster care. Why do we not care about everybody? Why do we only care about the rich? Well, guys, I appreciate y'all being here. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about that people are just not thinking it's going to affect them. And I just want to get that point out. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get people to watch, to listen. I don't care what side you're on. I don't care who you voted for. I'm not going to, laugh and go, ha ha, you voted for that. But no, that's not what we're going to do here. That's not what I'm going to do. But I am going to talk about what's going on in our world. And if you want to, hey, Marie, and also the other thing is, yeah, Betty Dan Boop, I do. I think that a lot of people are worried. And I do want to have a place where we can talk about that. Like I told y'all the other day, if anybody listened, I am going to, I've got a few women lined up to come in and have some panels. I mean, I think what I want to start with is because we're all from different walks of life, even though these women in particular that I have have contact with who are going to do this are from Arkansas, but I'm open to getting people from around, different places, but we all have different backgrounds and different, like Betty Dan Boop, she's got her own eggs, she got her own eggs. And But I think I'm going to start eating oatmeal, go back to eating oatmeal for breakfast instead of eggs because they've just gotten so expensive. And we got to do what we got to do to save money, right? But I hope that you all have a support system. I don't really like personally have somebody, support around me to like I feel really alone. Like if there was like a civil war breakout, I don't know what I would do. Like, if there literally were people fighting in the streets, I'd probably be one of the first ones to go. Marie 21 says from the UK, I like Trump, but to be honest, I don't trust anyone in power. They all say what we want to hear when they want a vote. I just do my best. Yeah, Marie, I think that when you're talking about a powerful country like the United States, what happens here can affect everyone too. I mean, if we break out in World War III, yeah. I mean, and supposedly the Canadian people are not sure what's going on either because, I mean, have your prices gone up there in the UK, Marie? You said grocery shopping has escalated. You mean prices have escalated? Because our prices have, everybody was complaining about the prices under Biden. And see, I think COVID-19 caused a lot of that to start up, those prices to go up. I mean, obviously, if I knew and understood how all this stuff works, I wouldn't be sitting here in my little house in my little town behind this little laptop talking to y'all. I would be in power somewhere. Marie says, "Oh, I agree 100% as situations affect the world. I don't trust Biden either." Oh yeah, I mean it's not like I've trusted Biden 100%. Yes, I voted for him, but that doesn't mean that I approved of everything he did. I feared Trump, and I think my fears are coming true. So we saw what happened in when he was elected, and then we saw January 6th, and a lot of those January 6th people that have been that were pardoned and let out of prison. I saw where one woman was put back in prison for 10 years for, I think, a DUI I think she killed somebody. And one man got killed by the police for, he was running, something happened. There's been several incidences with these 1,500 people that were pardoned. Marie says Ukraine increased ours, then us leaving the EU, and again past month with more taxes put on us. Yeah, tariffs on between the countries is like a tax on the people. And so, hey, Willow Blossom. It's a scary time, and I just want y'all to know that I'm keeping an eye on things. A lot of what I see is what people locally say, and Marie says, "Don't want to repeat myself or go on. Not sure if you saw my post this week that made me wake up a lot, and our NHS medical services are in a lot of trouble." I didn't see your post. Yes, Willow Blossom. It's not about sides anymore. To me, it's not about sides. Yes, I'm a Democrat. I'm liberal. I'm gay. I'm, you know, working class, lower class, whatever you want to call it. But classism is back because the tariffs are going to affect everybody. Home prices are going to go up. insurance, we may lose I've heard about people losing their insurance a lot because business is business, and an insurance company will do what they have to do to keep in business. And I guess running the United States is business too. But I fear for what's coming, and I hope I'm wrong. I said the other day, please, in a couple of years, let me be wrong. Come tell me I was wrong, that this isn't a big deal, that this isn't bad. A friend of mine, I saw a post this morning on Facebook, said, you know, a lot of us, we're kind of in the mentality of taking care of each other. We can find neighbors and friends. We can grow our own food and do a lot of these things. We can, wow, that's 30 minutes to get an ambulance. Do y'all think, you guys in chat, do y'all think it was just coincidental that we've had those two airplane crashes in the last week, the last 3 or 4 days? Yeah, Willow Blossom, I do think you're right about the distraction part. And politicians are really the problem. But we got to have somebody run it. I mean, unless we do become how is it you're not a democracy, authoritarian? Like if Trump becomes some way he legitimately changes our government to where he's like the king, you think it's a tragedy? Yeah, and I don't think you can blame those airplanes on Biden or Trump, because I know Trump he is doing away with DEI, and he seems to think that our what are they called? Those people that, you know what I'm talking about, that they're blind. It's a lot. It's a lot. I appreciate y'all being here, and keep me posted if you hear about anything that you think I need to know to share with my viewers about the situation in the United States. I will be covering as much as I can. And again, please hit the like button if you wouldn't mind. And I think the people who are here probably already subscribed. But anyway, I'm going to keep y'all posted on what I know and what bothers me, and if I find any solutions, we're going to definitely bring those to you. But again, thanks for watching, and I will see y'all soon.